All right, welcome back, everybody. So, Public Enterprises Minister Pravin Gordhan has dismissed calls to sell South African Airways. Gordhan and his department were addressing a joint sitting of Parliament's Standing Committee on Public Accounts and Portfolio Committee on Public Enterprises yesterday. He's asked for more time to be given to business rescue practitioners to finalise their turnaround plan for the airline. The practitioners recently announced SAA would cancel all domestic flights except for a reduced service to Cape Town, as well as some international and regional flights at the end of February. All of this in a bid to further cut costs. So to discuss this further, we're joined in studio by George Nell. He's the Senior Business Rescue Practitioner at Corporate Business Rescue Services, South Africa. Good to have you in studio. Welcome.
Good morning, yes.
So this is a very difficult situation we find ourselves in because, as we have discussed and we've said before, this is the very, very first time that a public entity has been put under business rescue. Is this very different and has to be handled very differently to another kind of company?
No, it shouldn't be handled differently. The Company Act provides for a specific set of rules in terms of which a business rescue practitioner should do his job. And it shouldn't be handled differently. It should be handled the same way as any other company.
Okay, we'll get into a bit more detail about that when we look at who they're accountable to and all of that kind of stuff. But I first want to touch on their finances. I mean, yesterday, a very, very bleak picture was painted once again of SAA's finances. Yes. In fact, the Public Enterprises Minister went as far as to say that that 3.5 billion rand that they were given recently by the DBSA will actually be run out by March, by next month. Yes. It'll already be depleted. I mean, this must tell you how severe the financial status of SAA is. What do you read into this? Well,
in preparation for this interview, I checked the financial statements of SAA. The last ones I could find was 2017. And then the entity was already insolvent, I think. And then also the liquidity of the entity was under tremendous pressure. And now we've got money till the end of March. If you and I have in our household money till the end of March, we have to let people go, we have to get a smaller flat or something like that. This is the same. It's just like a household. You have to look at your overheads and you have to predict and see what they're going to take you to. And it's a difficult situation to be in because the entity is definitely insolvent, it seems like it, and the liquidity of the entity is under tremendous pressure.
Yeah. So we've seen that for 2 financial years, they have not released their financial statements. We got an explanation yesterday saying that if it was, they would be liquidated. So they haven't released them. Talk to me about the sensitivity around that.
I don't think that is a good excuse.
No.
You've got a statutory obligation to release those. The board and now the business rescue practitioners has got the same duties and responsibilities as the board of directors. So if the financial statements are available and they can be signed off, maybe qualified, then it must be released. That is just like it is. There is a statutory obligation on the board and now the business rescue practitioners to release that.
So this liquidation thing of you release it, that just doesn't hold any water,
well,
does it?
the business rescue practitioner must every morning when he wakes up ask himself the question, can I conclude that there is a reasonable prospect that it can rescue this company? If he cannot conclude that there is a reasonable prospect, then he must liquidate the entity. And that is the major problem here. The objective test will be if you release the financial statements, everybody else will see that you have to maybe liquidate the entity.
Let me ask you a basic, simple question. Who is in charge right now? Because you have the business rescue practitioners that have been hired to look into this business and make a call. You have a briefing yesterday by our Minister of Public Enterprises, Pravin Gordhan, who, from what we saw yesterday, looked still very much so in charge of the airline, saying that he believes it can be rescued and that we must not get rid of SAA. SAA must stand. Who is in charge? I mean, what if the business rescue guys say, listen, you can't save this, you've got to let it go. But they're saying, no, you will save this. Who has the final say?
Well, the full management control of the entity seats in the business rescue practitioners. They are supposed to be in charge. I saw them yesterday in Parliament, sitting behind the Minister. So the Minister is the spokesperson to this committee. So, but they're supposed to be in charge. they've got tremendous pressure. You know, there's also the unions pressurizing them, other creditors, trade creditors, and just the situation in a whole is a very difficult situation to be in. They are in control. Yeah. And is supposed to be in control. And I think they are in control. Very well qualified business rescue practitioners.
So they were well in their right to cancel those routes. When we heard that announcement that SAA was going to be cancelling domestic routes, certain domestic routes as well as some international routes, even though the presidency came out and said, no, we're not happy with this. But they were well within their rights? Is that the understanding?
Well, they must restructure the company so that it's a viable company. And some of the things that must happen is very painful. They must adhere to actually the cry out was in regard to the job losses there. They have to adhere to the Labour Relations Act and pay severance packages and things like that. They have to consult and alike. But the fact of the matter is they must restructure the company so it is a viable company in the end of the day.
Yeah. You bring up the issue of unions, and this is a very big sticking point because we even saw the courts approached last week, and that was on behalf of NUMSA and the Cabin Crew Association as well, trying to get jobs or the halting of job cuts, and that was dismissed. So, you know, it's a difficult one because from your experience, and if you look at this airline, job cuts, is this an inevitability? Is this going to happen from what
I
you're
would say
looking
in
at?
this specific instance, it is an inevitability. I think that there will be job losses. It just makes sense. If you don't have certain routes and you don't have to service certain routes, you have to have job losses. But there is a Labour Relations Act that provides for the employees, and it's a very fair Labour Relations Act which will fairly provide for the business, for the employees.
Yeah. There's talk from unions as well that they are not being consulted by the business rescue practitioners, and they are upset by that, especially with the cancellation of routes. They heard it like we heard it, and they had no say in this whatsoever. Do unions have any say in this?
Everybody's got a say. The business rescue practitioner should be even-handed in his approach, but he's got a decision. So he can listen to everybody, but he must take a decision. In the end of the day, the business rescue plan must be published, and then the creditors have got the say. They have to vote in favour. 75% of them have to vote in favour of the business rescue plan. And that is the end say.
Yesterday, again, something quite telling coming. It's not the first time we've heard it. I've in fact heard this from a previous minister as well, talking to the finances of SAA, saying that nobody would want to buy this airline. You would have to pay them to buy the airline. In fact, I don't think they'd pay R1. And I think that was just a summary of what the minister said yesterday, and I have heard that before. But do you believe this? I mean, do you think that nobody would step up to the plate to sort of...
No, I think there would be possible investors, international investors. There's some companies that would like to invest in South Africa, into Africa. Ethiopian Airways, that was mentioned before. I think there's a short list of people that would like to invest. Maybe the present shareholders wouldn't like them to invest. But fact of the matter, I think there could be a few possible investors out there.
Yeah. I mean, there was even one off the top of my head, Richard Branson. I remember him speaking in November saying if he was approached, he would certainly look at the airline. So this story we're being spun, is this more of the government saying, we want this airline? Whether it's good or not, we want it. And under all circumstances, I know you can't comment, but from what you're looking at, does that what it looks like to you?
From an outsider, I think the government will consider all options. I don't think they are stuck to just have this airline. It's a very expensive airline. It's losing a lot of money. And in a certain sense, people are losing faces, And I think they will look at investors and investments.
Yeah. I mean, if you look at the fact that that 3.5 billion rand already is going to run out by March, how much does this airline need to be pumped into it to keep flying? Again, another hard question. You haven't seen the finances.
No, that's not too difficult. If you eat up 3.5 billion rand within 2 months, it seems if you need then that times 12 or times 3 or 4 to get to the end of the year. You have to have an income stream, and I don't see the income stream bettering at this stage because we're cancelling some routes. So on the one hand, we're cancelling routes, the income stream is diminishing, and on the other hand, we want to survive longer. It's a difficult position to be in.
Yeah.
We need something now, and we need it very quickly.
We certainly do, and also the trust of a consumer, because how do you get a consumer to book on your airline when we don't even know if the airline is going to be flying by the time my flight comes up? So, and then again, it's also about that insurance, which I think they've managed to secure once again. The insurers are guaranteeing your ticket.
Yes. I flew from Cape Town the other day to Tambo, and just between the commuters that was on the flight with me, there was a lot of jokes being cracked about the SAA. And there's a negativity about the SAA that's building. And that is not race-bound. It's all over the show. Everybody is laughing at SAA, unfortunately. And that's a very serious situation. I think the commuters don't trust SAA now to travel with them. Hopefully they will start to trust them again. We have got to do a big PR job here to get SAA back. If I was the business rescue practitioner, I would start a big PR job here to get SAA on the level that they buy tickets again.
We haven't heard much from the business practitioner. Is that the way this should work? Should they remain silent until they deliver, which with the date we've been given is the 6th of March? Is it right that we don't hear from them or hear anything at the moment? Do they report directly to the department, to the board?
Initially, I saw they appointed a liaison officer, media liaison officer. I haven't seen the lady lately a lot, but the fact of the matter is it's a big matter, and for the business rescue practitioner to come and sit here and talk to you, maybe that's a possibility. They're a bit shy to do that in the sense that what they say here can be kept against them, and they must apply their minds. But there was a liaison officer appointed. I would like to see a bit more from the business rescue practitioners, but that's their choice.
Yeah, indeed. I mean,
there's no obligation on them.
Yeah, people run things differently, but the bottom line is that people are assuming a lot of things, and we need to hear. But the 6th of March, it literally is around the corner, and that's something that we're waiting for. And I just have to ask you, in terms of the releasing of the financials, this is illegal, and it's something we know we've been speaking to for a very long time, and every single time the year comes around and the annual financials should be released, they don't come. Why do you think this has been the case?
Well, it seems if they're available, and that is more of a problem for me. If you've got the annual financial statements available and you just don't release them, that is a problem for me. If it's not finished and there's certain parts of the audit that must be finished and so on, then we can understand. But if they are available, they should be released because the Act say they must be released. That this is just what it is. As you say, it's illegal, not in a criminal sense, but in a civil sense, it's illegal to not release the financial statements.
Yeah. Final question, and again, I ask this just in the interest of understanding this better, because it is the first time it's happened. Once the findings are released on the 6th of March and they get the blueprint to the minister, is this the final word, or is there still a process that needs to go through to approve what the business practitioners have recommended to the ministers, to the department? What happens then?
Well, they should publish a business rescue plan, and that plan must be voted on. Must be in an open meeting where all creditors are in attendance, and they must think about the plan. They've got 14 days to think about a plan, consider the plan, ask questions about a plan, and then maybe propose changes to the plan. The creditors have got that right as well, after consultation, in an open meeting, and then they can vote on that plan, or they can extend the time to publish the plan or review the plan. But within a certain period of time, they have to publish a plan, and it will become a public document. We will see what the plan is shortly.
Would you clip SAA's wings, or would you allow it to keep flying?
A very, very difficult question. It is, if I was now the professional that have to make the decision, I have to take into consideration, maybe I'll stop flying for a while, trying to get an international investor, and then start again and get my my employees on my side, even the rest that's going to be cut, negotiate with them, be fair with them, give them an indication of what they're going to get, to understand what they are in for, and then restructure the company that it's a viable company. But you cannot proceed with a company that's not viable. The test in the business rescue legislation is the company must be solvent, or the solvency must be recovered in a short period of time.
George, thanks very much for talking to us.
Thank you.
George Nell talking to us here about SAAs, a senior business rescue practitioner at Corporate Business Rescue Services South Africa. SAA's future hangs in the balance, really, following Public Enterprises Minister Pravin Gordhan's appearance before Scopa yesterday. Let's take a break. News at 7 after this. Stay tuned.